Lights, camera,
Rolling.
action.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand. Wax on, wax off.
He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
Hi, I'm Joe, and this is the Filmjoe Podcast, where film talk happens. Hi, I'm Joe,
And I'm Daisy.
and welcome to the podcast where we talk about films, filmmakers, trends, the good, the bad, and the not so bad, all in the spirit and for the love of film. The 1980s. We are at the height of the Cold War. The AIDS epidemic terrified the world. We witnessed the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was also the birth of MTV, and we saw how video killed the radio star, while the world of music united in a singular voice declaring, "We are the world," in hopes to end famine in Africa. In Hollywood, we saw the return of the studio-driven film as Steven Spielberg redefined cinema and created the blockbuster. Film became bigger than life and turned your average weekend movie getaway into a cinematic event. So, here we are, halfway through the 80s, all right? What do you think
All
so
right.
far? Having fun so far with
Oh,
the 80s?
oh, come on, man. I live for the 80s. I was born in the 80s. Come on. Yes, I'm totally digging this.
Yeah.
I don't want it to end.
Well, we can add another 20 years to the 80s, right? Make it a double decade, right?
There you go. There you go.
All right. So for everyone, to our listeners, in case you've noticed that there is we have our third chair is empty. Liz couldn't make it to this episode. She's not feeling very well. She's feeling under the weather. So we, all our best
Oh,
wishes that she feels better, and she'll be back next week for sure.
good. I miss you, Liz.
She has sent her thoughts and her scores on both of these films, so she's with us in spirit. So that's all good. All right.
Awesome.
Right. Now, before we continue on, I really want to give a special shout out to director Guilford Adams, who I interviewed for a special episode that just came out a couple of days ago. And if you haven't checked it out, please do so. It's really, really interesting and a lot of fun. We discussed his latest documentary. It's called American Clown. And it's a really great documentary. It just premiered at the Dances with Films Festival at the Hollywood TLC Chinese Theater. And it's a great documentary. I haven't seen it yet, but from what I've heard, what I've read up on it and discussing it with Guilford Adams, it's basically, the bad image that
Mhm.
clowns have in our culture. We're all
Yeah.
afraid of them. You think,
Oh, yeah. I am.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you say clown, you think Poltergeist, you think it's Pennywise, Art the Clown,
Mhm.
and he is a career clown for himself, and he basically wants to bring out that the positive image and what clowning is all about, and the beauty and the artistry behind it, and
Mhm.
and it's a very unique kind of documentary in that sense, because I've never seen a pro clown documentary.
No,
But
absolutely not. That's cool.
yeah. So it's I can't wait to watch it once it's available. But once again, thank you, Guilford, for the interview. You were quite a gentleman, a professional, and a pleasure to speak to. So, and best of luck to your documentary. So, alrighty. Oh, by the way,
Mm.
I also got to see, and I did drop a flash review on this. the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh my god!
And
I haven't seen it yet, but I love the cartoons.
yeah, I mean, my initial take on this was I didn't want to watch it because I already seen this movie, and there's no need for a live action remake.
Right.
You got the same case with all this Disney garbage just popping out, and my wife, she really wanted to go see it with the kids. Okay, let's go see it. It was actually really, really good.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what's surprising about it was, I mean, it's not really necessary, this film wasn't necessary, but it worked. It really did, and I think that's because it was the same director. He wrote it. The same composer did the music, and they brought
Mhm.
back Gerard Butler as Stoic.
I
Which
love
is
it.
fantastic. Oh, it's great. It's a lot of fun, and there's some scenes that supersede the animated version and that are just more effective in live action. And but it's funny because the director, I'm embarrassed, I forgot his name. Yeah. I had one job. Uh and so, but basically, a few years ago, he was talking major shit about live action remakes and how Disney was just lazy, unimaginative, and all this shit, right?
And he just jumped right onto the bandwagon.
Yeah, and so the studio DreamWorks, they came to him and said, "Hey, we really want to do a live action remake. We want you to come back." And he's like, "Oh shit." And he didn't want to do it, but he realized that if he didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it. And basically that he wrote and directed the first three. These are very personal films to him. Yeah, he reluctantly decided, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet, take the shit for doing this, and I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah, you know what? I totally understand him because I mean, way too many times, I've seen, people's works of art being changed into something that is just, total garbage, just, when they redo it. And yeah, I totally get where he's coming from.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he did a great job. He definitely brought the feeling, and it encompasses the spirit of the original, the score, and it's beautifully cast. The actor they picked to play the part of Hiccup was
Mhm.
spot on. It was perfect.
Mhm.
And Astrid, the young lady that he's interested in, Jesus, perfect casting. She really brought out the essence of her character. And of course, Gerard Butler is stoic. You can't go fucking wrong with that. He was
Oh,
great.
absolutely not.
Yeah, he was great. He was great. So I definitely recommend it. I gave it a favorable review on Letterboxd as well. So folks, definitely check it out.
Mhm.
And
I'm watching it. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. All right, so you ready to get ready and start this week's episode?
Yeah, I'm totally ready.
All right, so let's dig our fangs into this week's episode. For our first film, Nothing Human Loves Forever.
Sarah Roberts is in jeopardy.
Hey, lady, how about it?
Stay with her. Help her. For she has begun to feel the awful horror of the hunger. John Blaylock. The hunger has given him everlasting life. Until now, pray for him. Miriam Blaylock. She feeds 1 day in 7 on the unsuspecting, and soon she will turn into something that you will never be able to forget. No matter how hard and how long you try, fear her.
What have you done to me?
Forever and ever.
And life signs terminate right here.
A love triangle develops between a vampire, her cellist companion, and a generologist. The film we are talking about here is The Hunger from 1983, directed by Tony Scott, who brought us such bangers of films like Days of Thunder, Top Gun, and True Romance. The film stars Catherine Deneuve, David Bowie, and Susan Sarandon. Alrighty. So for this first film, we're going to be rating this on a Filmjoe scale of 1 to 10 onks.
Yeah, boy. I was thinking that. Good job.
All right. So for those of you who may not know what an onk is the It's like the religious symbol, Egyptian symbol. It looks like a cross, but it has a loop on the top of it. So we've all seen it. So that's what we're rating it on. And
Yeah, which is perfect.
all righty. So let's get into some production backstory on this one. So The Hunger is a 1983 erotic horror thriller and it's directed by Tony Scott in his directorial debut. An international co-production of the United States and the United Kingdom. The film is a loose adaptation of the 1981 novel of the same name by Whitley Strieber, with a screenplay by Ivan Davis and Michael Thomas. Source novelist Whitley Strieber, he wrote 2 sequels to the novel for The Hunger, and they are The Last Vampire and Lilith's Dream, A Tale of the Vampire Life. But neither has been filmed, and we'll get into why. Under the direction of MGM Studio, the film's ending was changed so as to follow for the possibility of sequels and a franchise, which is something common to the horror film genre. Once again, the sequels never ever happened. The film's special effects were handled by Dick Smith, who did The Exorcist. And this is really interesting. Tony Scott, he discovered the rock group Bauhaus.
No freaking way. Oh my God, I was totally loving the intro to the movie with Bela Lugosi's dead. Oh my God, that was so freaking awesome.
It was. And he discovered the group in a London nightclub, and he, I guess the tone of the music, their the style. So he decided to put them in the movie as well. So in the opening sequence, that's Bauhaus performing Bela Lugosi's Dead.
Oh man, I got chills. Oh my God, so freaking cool.
Yeah. In an interview with the Daily Beast in late July of 2014, Susan Sarandon revealed that she actually had an affair with David Bowie while the two were working on the film. Yeah.
Hell yeah, girl. Woo! That's hot.
Cameraman Hugh Johnson, he became involved with Catherine Deneuve, the lead vampire in this film, while making the film, and they actually lived together for a couple of years. So I guess this film was just one big love production, I guess. I don't know.
The movie was pretty hot.
Yeah, it was. So though the film, it received mixed critical response, the film has accrued a cult following within the goth subculture in the years since it was released. After premiering at the 1983 Cannes Film Festival, The Hunger was released in the spring of 1983 by MGM. Alrighty, so let's get our takes on this. You first. You've seen this before. What are your overall takes?
Okay, so this is the first time I've ever seen it. And as you know, I am a huge vampire fan. I love watching vampire movies, even, the ones that aren't very known. Every vampire movie has its kind of rules, for vampires. This one kind of strays away with that. There's no vampire fangs. They can go out into sunlight with no problem. They don't sleep in coffins per se. But they do have their hunger for blood, and they're immortal. Somewhat immortal. And and one of the things that stood out to me the most, which is very common in vampire movies, or in books, is that they're tortured souls. Okay, they're cursed, to walk through this world feeding on humans, being lonely. And that's what this movie touches on, the fact that, they don't want to be alone. They want their special companion. And for some reason or other, she can't make a vampire correctly because they keep on dying after 300 years?
Right.
It's like they're fucking defective. But there's something about it that it's beautiful, darkly beautiful and sad. And that scene where she's carrying the dying corpse of her most previous lover, and you see the love in her face, in her expression, her brokenness, and I think that right there encompasses what a vampire is. So it makes up for the lack of fangs and stuff like that, and the fact that they could walk around in the sunlight. So I mean, surprisingly, like I said, I didn't hate the movie. It was actually pretty good.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, this is actually, I'd seen this easily about 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. So I don't remember much. I read the novel and I do
Oh,
remember.
did you?
Yeah, and watching the film, a lot of the novel came back to me. And yeah, it does stray from the novel, so I did I dug it kind of, but it was kind of soulless. It really it
Well,
missed a lot of the marks. I mean, I thought it was beautifully filmed. The
mhm,
cinematography is gorgeous, but yeah, it kind of missed the mark for me personally. I mean, I think they got the wrong director, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But
mhm.
yeah, I thought it was okay. It was okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it felt like, like I said, they weren't, going around with their fangs and, biting people. It was more of, kind of like the human side. You see them, teaching a child how to play the violin. They're not really bad people, and
right, right.
they're genuinely in love with each other.
Yeah, and it does come across. Liz,
Mhm.
what did you think of the movie, Liz? I don't know. It was kind of dark, and okay,
Oh my god! Oh, she's gonna kill you!
yeah, she is. She is.
Oh my god, dude! What the hell?
Didn't like it. It was dark.
That's a horrible accent.
Sorry, Liz. It's with love, okay? But anyway,
Jesus, man.
but yeah, I mean, it was beautifully shot, and it was very stylized, and I don't know, but like the dialogue was a bit over the top and over dramatic. It was, I don't know,
Mhm,
a lot of it was borderline bad, and it was kind of campy as well.
mhm.
You
Although
know,
David Boy killed it though.
David Bowie was great. I think the entire cast was good overall. I mean, Catherine Deneuve was
Mhm.
great, and
Yes.
let's before we continue, let's let the listeners know if they haven't seen this movie what the gist is. It's basically and Catherine Deneuve plays Miriam Blaylock, and she's an
Mhm.
ancient vampire from Egyptian times, and she picks a lover, feeds on him, and promises him or her eternal life. And apparently, like you said, she doesn't know how to make vampires because they only last a couple hundred years. But you know what? I think I know why that is. Because what it is, she starts to lose interest in her
Oh.
lover, and with losing interest, that's the life force or energy that gives her lover life. Once she starts to lose that interest and that passion starts to die. So it's brought out in the lover that's dying, and so then she starts looking for a new lover, and it kind of I think kind of goes into the insatiable desire that vampires have. Their hunger is
Mhm.
insatiable. So every now and then, so one dies, she picks a new one, and so it starts off with David Boy, who plays John Blaylock. Blaylock. I keep saying Blaylock. John Blaylock. And so he starts to wither away, and he seeks out this gerontologist, which is they study age and aging process and so forth. And they're on the brink of coming out with some treatment for aging and so forth. And so
Mhm.
he seeks her out. And by the way, she's a cellist. Why? I don't know, but let's just move on because that's just thrown in there.
Wasn't
Uh,
she a cellist in The Witches of Eastwick?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Maybe she likes cellos and maybe she can play them in real life. So John seeks out Sarah Roberts, who is the gerontologist played by Susan Sarandon, to try to find help. She basically blows him off. And so later on, she becomes fascinated, kind of interested. She remembers his case. She's like, you know what? Let me go track him down. Meanwhile, David Boy starts to, just shrivel away like a prune and just start to die and get old and old and older, which
Mhm.
the makeup was fan fucking tastic. And again,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, a shout out to Dick Smith, the master of makeup. And so you see him withering away. So she goes looking for him, goes to the mansion where they live, and she comes across Miriam, and she's like, well, he's not here right now. They strike up a conversation, and they get the hots for each other, and they start getting freaky. And so Miriam converts Sarah into a vampire. and this whole thing where she realized what she's become and so forth. And that's the gist of the film. But yeah, I mean, you like the themes I just laid out, the whole thing of eternal love being ephemeral. It's temporary, 200 years, no matter, maybe, I don't know, 200 years, you start to get tired of somebody, right? I don't know.
I would think so.
Right? It's like, man. And, and I think that, it's not about love. I think I have to disagree with you. You said it was, it was really love. I think it was more the love for eternal life that was embodied in the person they're with, and that's the lust for it, and so I think that may have been the yeah, and overall, I thought the film had a lot of potential in that capacity.
And that's the thing too, is like the reason I figured that, it was true love, she couldn't kill him. She could have thrown him into that oven and
Right.
gotten rid of him, but she didn't. She put him in a coffin and kept him
Yeah.
in the attic or in the basement. I don't know whether.
Yeah, and that's so much better, really. Come on.
Seriously, but the thing is, she couldn't bring herself to get rid of him.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that old sweatshirt that you love, but it's got to go, but you don't get rid of it. So that was her sweatshirt, I guess. But
It's sad. It was just really sad.
yeah, and you see she has a collection of like 50 coffins with all of her old, her dead lovers.
No,
Or
kind of dead lovers.
kind of dead because they're there, still alive, kind of, or
Mhm.
it's fucking weird. But yeah, I mean, I thought it had a lot of potential. I remember loving the novel when I first read it. I mean, I was 15 years old and I was still kind of grappling with the concept of words like lesbian,
Dude, I can imagine. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It had me reaching for the dictionary constantly.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet.
I was like,
Gross.
oh, that's what it is. Oh shit. But it was, I love the novel. The novel was great. But I don't know. I thought it was just kind of flat and unemotional. I felt like it focused more on the aesthetics rather than the story and the characters.
I did feel that the story could have been explained a little bit more. Like, I just assumed she doesn't know how to make vampires and she's making nothing but defects. But
I love that. Yeah.
yeah, but they could have gotten into more as to why that is. I'm sure there was a fucking reason why. You theorize, maybe, it's because, the lack of love, the lack of passion, you
Mhm.
kind of get tired of that person, and for me, it's kind of metaphorical, really, for, regular relationships. That's kind of how you feel inside when you're not receiving that love from your significant other. You feel like you're dying and withering
Mhm.
away.
Yeah, and I think that's there. It definitely is there. I mean, I also believe. I mean, you look at the wasted subplot with John, played by
Mhm.
David Bowie. We really don't have enough of his backstory or how he was misled. I mean, we get like little flashbacks, right?
Right.
But I think that going a little deeper into that and his impassioned approach to eternal life and how she turns him, that would have been really, really fascinating to experience in the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how it led to her eventually retiring him to his coffin, and I think it would have been more of an emotional impact.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was all there. Everything that they needed was there. They just didn't utilize it correctly. And
Yeah.
And that's the challenge also of getting a book and adapting it to a movie format, is that you leave out a lot of crucial things out of it. There's just so much in a book that you can't possibly fit into a movie, unless you bust the Lord of the Rings and split it in half and make two movies out of one book.
Right, exactly. And you also look at the fact Tony Scott. I mean, look at the films he's most famous for. You got Crimson Tide, Days of Thunder, Top Gun,
Mhm.
True Romance. Look at the style of those films. They're like bam, 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 in your face action, fun, badass. Almost over the top fun. And granted, this was Tony Scott's first film, which, by the way, little correction. We did an episode with Sean O'Connor I think it was the movie Night of the Demons, and we mentioned The Hunger, and we incorrectly stated that it was Ridley Scott that directed it.
Who was it that did that?
I think it was all of us. We were like, "Oh yeah," we all jumped on it. So we all fucked up on that one.
Jesus.
But it was Tony Scott, his brother, and so I think, and again, this was his first film. Maybe he was still finding his legs and his style and his signature, and this definitely wasn't it. And interestingly enough, I think Ridley Scott, who directed films like Alien, would have done a better job with this. I think this was definitely a Ridley Scott film, not a Tony Scott film.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it did capture, the feel of a vampire. It totally gave me the gothic, feel to it.
Yeah.
It did feel like a vampire film, very gothic. But like I said, there's a lot of elements missing that could have been brought out. It needed some salt. It needed some spice.
Yes, exactly. And I love the opening with Bauhaus singing Bela Lugosi's Dead, which it was great, beautifully shot. And I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. But the further I got into it, I did find myself a bit distracted, a little kind of bored, and kind of like, man, like you said, this needs spices, this needs some salt. So, and it felt kind of dry for me. So, yeah, unfortunately, it was a major directorial misstep for Tony Scott. And no disrespect to him, it just wasn't his type of film.
But you know what though, I do think that it was a good good attempt at a first film. I think for it being his first film, not too shabby.
No, you know what? I agree. I definitely agree with that. But yeah, but I can see again, it is a cult classic now, and in the subculture of the goths, and I can see why. I can definitely see why. So,
absolutely.
Now here's the ending that wasn't in the book. I don't remember the exact ending in the book, but I know this wasn't it, where Sarah becomes the new vampiress. And,
right, exactly.
And she's in a new fancy loft kind of penthouse, and with a basement, and there's one coffin in the basement, and that's Miriam. And so
so I wonder if she got the same trait as making messed up vampires, and if she's gonna be just as cursed as her predecessor.
Yeah, you know what? I would have loved to have seen sequels to this. I mean, this could have been Interview with a Vampire easily.
Absolutely.
In that kind of classic sense. But again, it was kind of a misstep, and focused more on visual aesthetics rather than character analysis and story, and that's where this movie suffered. Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So let's get into the budget and the box office on this one. The budget at the time was about $10 million, which in today's dollars is about $32.4 million. Box office, it made $12.3 million. Yeah.
Ouch.
It didn't even break even. And in today's dollars, that's about 40 million. So yeah, it really didn't do well at all, unfortunately. I mean, but again, it lived on. It did well on home release and, VHS and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So reviews and scores, the film received mostly mixed reviews. And I get it. I get the mixed reviews. Roger Ebert, he described this film as an agonizingly bad vampire movie.
Oh my God. I don't think it was. Damn. That's kind of, I don't think it was that bad.
Right?
That's brutal.
Yeah. IMDb, it's sitting at a 6.6 with a Metascore of 52. Rotten Tomatoes, critic score 58% with an audience score of 66. And Letterboxd has this at a 3.6 stars out of 5. So yeah, right down the middle, kind of yes, no, meh, whatever,
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so sequels, spin-offs, remakes. As we mentioned, there were no film sequels to this because it was dismal box office. But there was a horror anthology that ran from 1997 to 2000, and it was called The Hunger, and it ran 2 seasons. The first season was hosted by Terrence Stamp. He was General Zod in Superman.
Love him.
Yeah, he was great in that. So he was the host of season 1, and David Bowie was the host for season 2.
Oh shit. Okay, I need to look this up.
Yeah, and they would eccentrically introduce each of the steamy episodes that are erotic and often supernatural in what about power and sex and stuff
Mm.
like that. So
Okay.
yeah. So it lasted 2 seasons, but it'd be interesting to look up and see how that was.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's give our ratings on this. What do you say?
Okie dokie. Sounds good.
All right, so you go first.
Okie dokie. So I am gonna give it 5.5 onks. Well, like I said, I didn't dislike it. I didn't love it either, but I think it is worthy of a good vampire movie. And you know what? In this instance, I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of this movie. Has so much freaking potential to be something great. So
Yeah,
there you go.
very much agreed. I'm pretty much in line with your score. I gave it 4 out of 10 onks. Again, it was kind of slow, misguided. The script it lacked emotional punch. Had zero depth. Beautiful looking film. It was as empty as a vampire's soul. So yeah, 4 out of 10. Yeah. Now, Liz, she was a little confused whether she liked it or not.
Yeah.
So, she was kind of down the middle as well. So she gave it 5 out of 10 onks as well.
Okay. All right. So we're basically all on the same page then.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
interesting film. I mean, I'd recommend if you're interested in vampires and stuff, I'd recommend watching it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Alrighty. So let's jump into our next one. What are you saying?
All right. Let's do this.
All right. So it is Terror Through the Eye of a Cat.
Stephen King, your favorite novelist and master of modern horror, has written his first motion picture screenplay. It combines all the elements of his creative imagination. Lovable pets, classic cars, quiet evenings, favorite films.
Kill the son of a... Good idea.
Adorable kids.
Help me! It's after me!
And of course, a monster or two. Experience a series of electrifying adventures as seen through Stephen King's Cat's Eye.
A stray tabby cat hides from a dog that's chasing it into a delivery truck. The delivery truck drives to New York City. He gets off the truck. The cat, while walking around, sees the disembodied image of a young girl pleading for help. And the cat is suddenly picked up by a man. That's basically the plot. So we got 3 stories strung together by a cat that runs through all 3 of them. And that's the gist. So the film we were talking about here is Cat's Eye from 1985, directed by Louis Teague, who brought us Cujo, Jewel of the Nile, and Navy SEALs, which is Navy SEALs is such a cringy, bad movie. Anyway.
I love that fucking movie. This movie's badass.
This movie is so bad. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah. So the film stars Drew Barrymore, James Woods, and Alan King. So for this film, we're going to be rating this on the Filmjoe scale of 1 to 10 gray tabby cats.
Okie dokie.
All righty. So a little production backstory here. So in 1978, Milton Sabowski and his company Sword and Sorcery Productions, they optioned the Stephen King short. They optioned actually the book Night Shift, which was a collection of short stories. Which included stories like Quitters Inc., The Ledge, and Sometimes They Come Back, which are the 4 stories they wanted to adapt into one film. And they had, they were going to call it Fright Night. Yeah, that title eventually was kind of taken. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so a screenplay was written by Edward and Valerie Abraham, and the film made it to pre-production. But after failing to acquire financial backing, Sabowski, he sold the options to Dino De Laurentiis, and Sabowski, he retained co-producer credit as well as input on the script, casting, and editing. So eventually the script was finalized by Stephen King himself. Now I'm going to circle back to that, that he wrote the screenplay for this.
Right.
Very, very interesting note. After being impressed with Drew Barrymore's performance in his production of Firestarter, De Laurentiis asked King, here we go, to write a brand new story tailored specifically for Barrymore. And of course, he ended up writing the entire script. Yeah, and so they incorporated the stories Quitters Inc., The Ledge, and a new story, which was General, or The General.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that story is an original story. So Cat's Eye was finally theatrically released in the United States by MGM on April 12th, 1985. So circling back to Stephen King writing the screenplay, the trailer does state that Stephen King, this is his first screenplay for a film. It's not, because Stephen King wrote the screenplay for Creepshow in 1982.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this would actually be his second. But it's interesting how that was kind of missed when they were putting the trailer together.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. But so yeah, let's get our takes. What about yourself? You seen this before?
Oh, yes. I've seen this so many times as a kid. And, I loved it. I loved Drew Barrymore. I thought she was awesome. I want to say we were roughly about the same age. So, I loved watching all her movies. I saw her in, Firestarter and E.T. and then this movie. And, she was so cool.
Okay.
And yeah, I love the intro, the opening scene where you see the cat running away from a dog, which is none other than Cujo.
Yes.
And the cat's running away, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, he's about to get hit by a car. Christine. Oh my God, I freaking lost my shit. I thought that was so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Awesome movie. I love all three stories. My favorite one has to be Quitters Inc.
Yeah.
That one was just fucking genius. I love that one.
Yeah. For me, I've seen this myself several times, and I always enjoy it every time I see it. It's not a perfect film, but it's a lot of fun. This is another one. I actually read Night Shift, which had all these short stories. And I think, Quitters Inc. and The Ledge, which were pulled directly from the novel, they were spot on. They were really well done. Yeah,
nice.
Right on the money. And but yeah, I love this movie. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, you mentioned the Easter eggs of Cujo, and Christine.
Yes.
And I love the bumper sticker they focus on. It's like rock and roll will never die.
Love it.
Yeah, watch out for me. I am pure evil. I am Christine. It's awesome. Little things. It was a little on the nose, like saying, "Look, this is Christine. We're telling you." But I thought that was neat and a lot of fun. But
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but there was actually 2 more Easter eggs.
Really?
Yeah. One is when Dick Morris, who is in Quitters Inc., he's all agitated, trying to quit smoking. And he's watching television, and his wife is preparing dinner. He's watching The Dead Zone, which is a Stephen King story.
No way. How did I miss that?
Yeah. And it's hilarious because he's all agitated watching the movie, and his wife sneaks up behind him. He freaks out. He's like, what? When he drops his drink, and she goes, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, it's this movie I'm watching. I don't know who writes this crap.
Nice.
Yeah. And also in the short story General, the one with the cat, the mom, she's in bed and talking to her husband, and she's reading a book. The book she's reading, Pet Sematary.
Oh my God. Yeah, that one I did not get at all.
Yeah. And it's cool because
Nice.
Cujo also has a little callback, a little Easter egg in Cujo on the dashboard in one scene in a car. There's a book in there, and it's called Night Shift, which is the short stories.
Oh, wow. I
I
love that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And also, there is one more.
Hmm.
In the story The Ledge, Kressner, and we'll get to who Kressner is. He's on the ground because he's being confronted by our hero or whatever, and he's on the ground, and he's like, "Oh, we can make a deal." And he's flipping through a Penthouse magazine, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, that magazine is an issue from Penthouse from 1976 in July, which featured the short story, The Ledge.
It was featured in Penthouse magazine?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that most of his short stories, because he was trying to make money, Stephen King, as best he could before he made it big with Carrie in 1976. So what he was doing, he would write short stories and send them out to magazines. And the only ones who would take them would be Penthouse, Playboy, all these different, adult magazines that actually had stories in them. There wasn't just TNA. There was actually
Oh,
legitimate
wow.
short stories and articles. I wouldn't know, but
Oh, God.
but yeah, and that's how he made his living. And so the July 1976 issue of Penthouse featured the ledge in it. So there was another
Oh, my
little
God.
Easter egg in that. Yeah, it's hilarious. Now, one thing before we get into start breaking these three stories down, the synthesized score was pretty cool, right?
Right.
It had this adventurous, heroic kind of angle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was cute.
Didn't it sound now? Okay, let me frame it this way: if you
It
put
sounds like okay, to me it sounded like Back to the Future.
boom, you got it. Well, it's the same composer, Alan Silvestri.
Oh shit, he was onto something.
Yeah, yeah, because if you get the score for from Cat's Eye and you put a full orchestra behind it, it's Back to the Future almost.
That is yeah, I did catch that. I'm like that sounds oddly familiar.
Yeah, and finally, it was interesting also because the story is linked by a stray cat that roams from one tail to the next. It's a great tabby. Now, what's interesting is that it is kind of an Easter egg that I don't think anybody picked up on. But what kind of cat was featured in Pet Sematary?
It was a great cat, right?
A gray tabby, just like General in this one.
That's right. I remember that because we had a cat named Smokey.
That looked like that.
He looked just like that.
Yeah. So it's kind of a pre-Easter egg because Pet Sematary didn't come out till 1988 or 89 around there.
Right.
So, but it's still kind of an Easter egg. So that was kind of cool.
That's cool. That's really cool.
All right. So let's break down these stories. Okay. So we're going to go with the first story, Quitters Inc. All right. And oh man. So basically, this one stars James Woods and Alan King. And so James Woods plays a character named Dick Morris, which is interesting. You got Philip Morris, get it?
Yes.
Cigarette company. So he's trying to quit smoking. He wants to quit. So he finds this place called Quitters Inc. And it's basically a clinic that's run by the mob, to help you quit smoking. And they go through extreme lengths to make sure you quit smoking. So if they catch you smoking, they'll do something to you, whatever, or to your wife. And
they're like first there's like a couple of steps at it. Each step just keeps on getting worse and worse if you get caught.
Exactly. So they know they're watching you all the time. So when he walks into the office, Alan King, who plays Dr. Vinny Donati, come on, with a name like that, you're not in the fucking mob. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
It's hilarious. So he's like, okay, well, this is our thing and so forth. Well, if we catch you smoking the first time, here's what we do. Well, in the opening of Cat's Eye, when the cat, he escapes Cujo, he escapes Christine, jumps on a truck, ends up in New York, and he's walking down the street, and he sees a little mannequin of a little girl in the window, and it's Drew Barrymore saying, "Save me, sir. Please come, help me. I need your help," whatever. Right then, some thug grabs the cat and puts him in a cage. All right, there's your setup. So now we jump back to the office, and at the office, Donati is explaining to Morris, if you slip the first time, this is what happens. He opens up this sliding door, a window thingy, and there's a little room that's encased in glass, and there's a cat in there on a metal grid. Okay. And so he goes, this is what happens. And they start playing a song. I think it was 96 Tears, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it might have been that or another one, but he hits a button and he electrocutes the cat. Like soft, small, you know what?
Like little sparks.
Little sparks. Now, PETA folks who are listening, fuck off. I'm not being cruel to cats. This shit was funny, okay?
It was in the movie. We're just watching what was in the movie.
Yeah, and I don't think it was 96 Tears. It was another one like Jump or Shout or something like that. Because 96 Tears comes later.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
And the fucking cat is being sparked and he's jumping up in the air and it's so fucking, you see him fly up and oh my God. It was so messed up, but I couldn't stop laughing.
That
And
yeah, that shit was funny as hell. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, and again, to your, PETA folks out there, animal protect, you know what? Fuck off. It was funny, okay? We don't
It was
advocate
a movie.
electrocuting. Yeah, exactly. But it was
It
hilarious.
wasn't real. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, so and that's where we get our title, Sexy Vampires and Electrocat Therapy. Uh, I came up with that one all by myself. It
I'm
was
very proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
and so basically the whole segment is him trying to quit smoking. They're watching him, and he does slip one day, and they end up putting his wife in that cage, and that's where the song 96 Tears, and she's jumping up and down, and
Her hair is all poofy and shit from the electricity.
oh my god, and it's hilarious. And but it was pretty I love this episode. And of course, Drew Barrymore plays his daughter who had, special needs. And
Right.
look, I'm sorry. I love Drew Barrymore. And for the duration of this entire film, she turns in a very cringy, dismal performance. It's really bad.
Aww.
I'm sorry. It's so fucking
She's
bad.
so
And you know what?
cute.
She's adorable, but this is a testament to the directing magic of Steven Spielberg, because for E.T., she was incredible. She was fantastic. She was so
Mhm.
natural and so
Yeah,
adorable.
exactly.
And that was Steven Spielberg's directing. Louis Teague, I don't think he was able to bring out the same performance. He couldn't do it. So yeah, I know it's maybe controversial. I know Liz is probably
No.
going to, she's like, nah, I liked it. I'm gonna-
Dude.
for the record, I'm going to stop doing Liz impressions because I really do want her to come back next week. So Liz, I'm done. Sorry. Okay. So, but overall, I mean, it was a fun, thing. And he finally quits smoking, and he's gaining a little weight. And Donati's weighing him, and they're all proud and they're all happy. Oh, you quit smoking. They're all buds now. And, he's like, oh, look like you gained a pound. And, Morris is like, yeah, a pound here, a pound there. What are you going to do? He goes, oh, well, if it gets out of hand, we'll just have to cut your wife's pinky off.
Yeah.
And they laugh it off. And then we get to the end of the episode where his best friend, his wife, and Morris and his wife are having dinner, and they toast to Critters Inc. And his friend's wife lifts the glass, and she's missing a pinky.
Oh God. It just doesn't fucking end.
Oh my gosh. I loved it. And again, it's very true to the original short story. It really worked.
Oh my God. And it's so awesome. I mean, it just show the struggles of the addiction of cigarettes. He's at that party, he starts fucking hallucinating, and oh my God, it's freaking hilarious. He sees everybody smoking, and it's yeah. No, and the part where he's waiting for the bridge, and he looks around, he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna take a smoke. And he's like on the bottom of the car smoking. You see the smoke coming up.
Right.
And they're fucking watching him. There's a dude right next to him watching him. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's, you know what? And that's one thing that it really does illustrate how it feels when you're trying to quit, because I don't smoke anymore. I vape. People argue, it's the same shit. Again, shut up, people. Anyway, I used to smoke, and and I tried to quit several times, and that's how it feels. It illustrates how it feels. It puts you in situations like traffic, and that's where you just puff away when you're a smoker. So I was really able to identify with it. It was very, very on target.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? I also love the way how throughout the film, I mean, we'll get to the other episodes, the other segments, but the whole thing with the use of classic rock and roll songs, that's a Stephen King device. I've read a lot of his novels, and you'll be like, yeah, this is going on, and this song is playing in the background, and he uses it to kind of like amplify what's going on. It's like somebody's trying to get in, you can keep a knocking, but you can't come in.
Yes, exactly.
And so he does it, and it's used here in the film as well. So But yeah, I love this one. So now let's get into the next one, which is The Ledge. This is, you know what, my favorite one, okay? And this
Okay,
one,
okay.
yeah, this one stars Robert Hayes as Johnny Norris and Kenneth McKillen as Kressner. So the gist of this one is an aging tennis player. He's at the end of his career, and he happens to know this young lady who he falls in love with, and they have an affair. But she is married to this big wig. I don't know if he's a mafia thug. He probably is.
He owns
Definitely,
the hotel, right?
yeah, exactly. And he's an older guy, big fat old gentleman, right? And she's a young, sexy woman. And so Johnny has an affair with her, and they basically they steal a shit ton of his money, and she's gonna run off to some town on a bus, and he's gonna meet her there, right? Well, as he's walking away, he's confronted by one of Kressner's thugs who says, "Hey," he's like, "Hey," and they kidnap him, they take him, and they take him to his Mustang. It's like, okay, in the trunk right now is a bunch of cocaine, and yeah. And so, how does the story look? Aging, tennis player, blah blah blah, busted on cocaine charges. How would that look in the press, and what would that do to your career? So he takes him up to Kressner, and Kressner runs it down. He says, "Listen, I'm a betting man. I love to to make wagers." So he tells him, this building, they're up on like what the 20th floor or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, I'll make you a bet. The ledge all around the building is about 4 inches wide. If you can make it all the way around the building without falling, you know what? I'm gonna leave you alone. You can have her, you can have the woman." And which, by the way, there is an Easter egg there.
Oh.
And he's like, "Yeah, you know what? If you make it, you get the girl, you get the gold watch, you get everything." Well, I think it was like 81, 82. There was a television movie with Robert Hayes about a guy who, his uncle, great uncle, gives, he inherits from him a gold watch, and that gold watch, it stops time.
Oh, okay. That sounds
And
familiar.
yeah, and it was with Pam Dauber, who was in Mork and Mindy, and it was a fun little movie. And the name of the movie, The Girl, the Gold Watch, and Everything.
Oh shit. Okay, nice.
So that's what Kressner tells him, you can have it all. So, basically, Johnny proceeds at gunpoint to climb out onto the ledge. He's like, "You fucker, if I make this, I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah." So he goes around the ledge, and, and basically, Kressner does everything he can to make him fall. And
He's such an asshole.
yeah, and he makes it back, and Kressner's like, "Okay, fine, you fucking made it. I hate the fact that I lost, so here, you got it. I promised you what I promised you, all right?" He tosses a bag at him, and there's a bunch of money that flies out with the head of the woman that he was.
God.
And so Johnny loses it, and he's like, "You motherfucker," and he grabs in the big old scuffle, and he takes out the bad guy, and he's like, "Okay, now you're gonna walk out on the ledge," and he puts him out on the ledge, and he falls and dies. Spoiler alert. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites. What did you think of this segment?
Oh, I love that. It's funny because I saw this as a kid, and I remember, I don't remember much of the dialogue, but I'm often, whenever I'm playing with one of my kids, I always like to say "boogie boogie boogie," and I never knew where the fuck that came from. And I'm watching it, I'm like, "Oh shit!" That's where I got it from.
Oh my god, that is hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That guy was an ass. He was such an asshole. He kept on fucking with him. The water hose. Trying to scare him with a fucking, what is that? A horn.
A bugle, a horn. Yeah.
Oh my god, yes. No, that movie, that part was really freaking cool. But you forgot how the cat came into play.
Right, because the cat escapes the lab in Quitters Inc.
Right.
And he hops on a train. Fucking cat is very resourceful. He knows how to get around. And he ends up in Atlantic City, and he's crossing the street during busy traffic. Kressner's out there with one of his thugs after they just came out of dinner. And the cat's going to get hit by a car, and he's running, and they make a bet. Is the fucking cat going to get run over or not? And the cat makes it. So Kressner takes the cat, because he bet for the cat, and he takes the cat up to the loft with him. So in the scene where Johnny is, struggling, he takes out one of the thugs, takes his gun, he does so with the aid of the cat who trips the thug on purpose.
Yep.
On his way out. So that was pretty cool. He's a little hero already.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
And then, of course, he runs out and he runs off to the next story. But yeah, and of course, Kressner does the thing and he falls immediately. And but yeah, I mean, it really kind of, man, I'm terrified of heights.
Oh yes.
And it really was. It worked. Even when I read the short story, it really freaked me out, and I loved it. It really, really was.
Tell me you did laugh your ass off when he kicked the shit out of that pigeon that was pecking him.
Oh my god!
Did you see nothing but fucking feathers?
Oh shit, that was hilarious because he finds because he's going on the ledge and the fucking pigeon is picking away at his ankle. And he's like, you motherfucker, I'm gonna get you. So finally he finds like a little alcove where it's like a flat area, like a landing, and he's able to like rest. And the pigeon is right there. And like from a reverse angle where you just see the opening of the ledge, you see the pigeon just go poof and
I died. She was fucking hilarious.
Oh my god! You know what? I think we just lost all of our animal activist listeners.
No shit, fucking electrocuting cats, kicking pigeons.
Oh god, that was hilarious! You just go and it explodes.
It was funny as hell.
Oh man, but no, it is a great short story, and you know it was interesting. It wasn't really about Kressner feeling betrayed and hurt because of his wife was cheating on him. It's like he didn't give a shit about her. He said he loved to wager. It was all about the power and the thrill and winning at all costs. So so to him, his wife, it was just like a sick game, exactly. So, but yeah, that one was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one. And then the final story now we get to is called General. So now the cat escapes from Atlantic City and again miraculously makes it to wherever he's going. And so Drew Barrymore finds him and she wants to keep him. And the mom says no, but there's a problem. You see, the reason that General, our hero cat, is summoned because there is a troll that's about a foot tall that's terrorizing this little girl at night, trying to steal away her breath. And so, and her parents don't believe her and whatever. Stop making shit up. There's no monsters. And so in comes General. She finally gets him, and she finally is able to keep him. And General saves her life, basically becoming a little hero. And it was really cool. It's an original story. I did like it. It's my least favorite of the three. It did feel kind of out of place.
Right.
Because remember, you get the first two stories that have a comeuppance at the end.
Right.
And this one doesn't have a comeuppance. I mean, some would argue that it does, but it doesn't. Because, so General goes in, and then the mom is like, I don't want that fucking cat in my house. He needs to, they're nasty. The dad's kind of, sympathetic towards the cat, but, the mom says no, so they have to kick the cat out.
The dad was a pussy, by the way.
Yeah, he didn't have a spine, man. It's like, the cat's fine. He's a nice cat. Now, what about it? Okay.
Yes, dear.
And so they finally kick him out one night, and because what happens is that the troll visits while General is in the bedroom. The troll comes in one night and tries to take away her breath, and here comes General to save her, and they get into a little fight and everything. And in the process, they knock over she had like a parakeet. And the parakeet gets killed and whatever. The parents come in and the cat's there and they see this big old mess. And the mom's like, see, I told you, look, he killed a bird, fucking cat. And they kick the cat out, right? Pretty messed up. And so later on, of course, General makes his way back in because the troll is back to kill, take the little girl, and he saves her. And kills the troll by putting him he's on a record player, the troll, and puts it on super fast speed, and the troll flies into the fan.
And that's actually the record is playing that song, I'll Be Watching You.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where it's into play.
Yeah. And so and then the parents come in and they realize that General was actually the hero and the little girl was correct. So they end up they keep general, and he sleeps with her. And it's a beautiful story. It was a lot of fun.
It was really cute.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, in essence, it delves into the psychology of the supernatural anxieties that we find in everyday life, especially in childhood. And so I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty neat.
I liked how they killed the fucking troll though.
Oh God, it was hilarious.
That was fucking hell. It kind of reminded me of the way that they killed the gremlins in the movie Gremlins, where they throw one inside the microwave and the other one goes inside the blender.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it did have that comical approach to it. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I dug that episode. I mean, so overall, I really do love this movie. It's a lot of fun, even though, like I said, for me, my favorite is I don't know. It's a toss up between the Ledge and Quitters Inc. because it was so well adapted and so effective. And of course, General, the last story.
It was cute. It's funny because when I was a kid, I liked that one. I liked the last one better.
Okay, that makes sense because you can see it was geared towards the fears of children and their love for for their pets. So, but overall, this is as pro cat a film that you're going to get. This is pro cat all the way.
Oh yeah, definitely a cat person movie.
Yeah, because it does dispel the that urban legend, if you will, that cats steal the breath from children.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not true, and it dispels that myth actually. And it's actually the trolls that do it.
It's funny as hell.
Oh my gosh! And by the way, the troll was designed by Carlo Rimbaldi. The same guy who designed the aliens from Close Encounters, and he designed E.T.
No way! Wow, yeah, he was really cool looking. I really liked the design on that little troll.
Yeah, and and a lot of the forced perspective shots, with the giant chairs, so you can get this, you can see that he's a 2 feet tall, was really great.
Right.
Yeah, but some of the optics, where you see General fighting, he's side by side, he's fighting the troll. It was kind of iffy, but it was the 80s. There was still a long way to go with effects. But
know what? And I still appreciate that effect because it took, they actually had to, figure out how to do it, so it was very creative. So I'll give them that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, okay, it didn't look that great, but the ingenuity and the work that went into it, you got to tip your hat off to it. So
exactly. Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the budget and the box office on this one. So the budget at the time was about $7 million. And in today's dollars, that's about $20 million. Box office at the time was about 13 million. And that's around close to $40 million. So it did well. It wasn't a box office smash, but it did well at the box office. And of course, you can attribute that to the popularity of Stephen King at the time. There was tons of adaptations of Stephen King.
Right.
Alrighty, so what do you say we get into some reviews and scores on this one? All right.
Okay.
So it received generally positive reviews. Roger Ebert, he gave the film 3 stars out of 4. Yeah. He wrote, Stephen King seems to be working his way through the reference books of human phobias, and Cat's Eye is one of the most effective films. So very much agreed, and he loved it. So IMDb is sitting at a 6.3, Metascore 70, Rotten Tomatoes critic score 68% with an audience score of 54. Letterboxd has this at 3.2 stars out of 5. All right, so sequels or remakes, there were none. I could see where sequels could have been done,
Right.
Cat's Eye 2, and just adapt more of the stories from Night Shift. That would have been fun, but never happened. Just a one-off, and I'm fine with that. So
yeah.
All right, so let's go with our ratings on this. You go first.
Okay, well, it's one of my, my favorites, from when I was a kid. I love the way that, I kind of went from having the General being my favorite story to, Smokers, what was it, Quitters Inc. as being my favorite. So, I grew into the movie without losing anything. So that was really cool. I'm going to give this an 8.0.
All right, 8.0. A solid 8.0. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was a cute and fun anthology. I'm a sucker for the anthology films of the 80s. There's some great ones out there, and this is definitely on my list. again, the first two stories were great. They were on the money as an adaptation, almost in the tradition of Creepshow. But the third one, it did feel kind of out of place, but nonetheless, it was fun. So overall, my score, I'm going to give this 7 out of 10 gray tabby cats.
Nice. Very nice.
All right. So now, Liz, take note. I'm not doing an imitation. I'm not. So Liz, she really loved Cat's Eye, and she hated the mom.
Of course. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, she thought she was a total bitch. And she thought General was such a handsome and brave hero. And so she gave this 9 out of 10 gray tabby cats.
Wow, not bad. Okay, I'm glad she liked it.
Yeah, she loved it. And in fact, I remember from our previous season, she talked, she said, "Hey, we got to do Cat's Eye." And unfortunately, it never fit in. But when we came into this new season with a new format, I'm like, "Yep, perfect. We're going to go with Cat's Eye."
Yeah. Do you know if this was her first watch or she had seen it already?
Oh no, she definitely has seen this several times. It's one of her
Okay.
favorite. Yeah, definitely. So
Nice.
So yeah. So we had a couple of really interesting 80s films on this segment.
Oh, absolutely. Really cool ones.
Yeah. So what do you say we start closing this down? We're running a little long on this one. We don't want to bore people. So
All right, sounds good. If we must.
yeah, we got to do what we got to do. So, folks, join us next week as we continue our journey into the 1980s with Gavin and Gary from that hilarious podcast, the Meandering Movie Podcast. And we are going to be covering a couple of doozies here. We got Flash Gordon and Back to the Future.
Oh my God, 2 awesome freaking films.
Yes. So, alrighty, folks. So we really hope you enjoyed the show. Please help to support the podcast by giving us a 5-star rating or leave us a good review. Another way you can support us is simply to subscribe and or follow us on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Audible, Boomplay, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast fix. You can also catch me on my monthly horror podcast, Fear on Film with Sean O'Connor, where we cover all the latest in the world of horror film, available on all the same platforms. And as for Liz, who is not here today, you can catch her on her podcast, Ouch, Was That a Ghost? On Patreon, Spotify, Amazon, and most platforms where you get your creepy and weird podcast fix. Also, don't forget to check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. All of these links, they can be found in our LinkTree link below in the show notes. So be sure to click on it. A lot of cool stuff on there. Don't forget, please, if you can, contact us directly via email with your feedback. Let us know how we're doing. You can do that by emailing us at thefilmjoepod@gmail.com. So with that being said, I'm Joe.
I'm Daisy.
And this is the Filmjoe Podcast,
where film talk happens.